Let's take a little bit more time and look at the Create New Document Dialog Box. I go to File, Menu, New, and Document. So this allows me to set my settings, specify a number of things before starting my document. I'm going to make sure my preview is checked so that I can actually see things happening out here behind this dialog box as I change my settings. So a couple of things here. Let's start at the top. Number of pages. So if I know the number of pages that my document will contain, I can specify in this box. I can also specify my page size. So we call it page size or trim size. Trim size just means the width and height of the final finished document. So I can specify with some defaults here, or I can enter in. I can also choose the orientation, whether it will be portrait or landscape. Back up next to number of pages. I have facing pages. What facing pages are? They are left and right pages that face each other in a spread. So if you open up a magazine or a book, you have a left page and you have a right page. That is facing pages. If I uncheck that, basically I'll get a stack of pages on top of one another. I won't have a left hand or right hand. The intent up at the top again, intent basically tells me what is my intent for this project. Will it be print? Will it be web? Or will it be digital publishing? Now a note between the differences of web and digital publishing. If I'm going to do an interactive presentation and my intent is for it to be placed on the web, I would choose web. If I am going to do an interactive presentation and my intent is for it to be placed on a tablet, then I would choose digital publishing. So that will make more sense as we go throughout the semester. Let's go into the margins here. So margins basically are distances, and if I have my link active, that makes all the settings the same. If I turn that off or break the link, then I can independently adjust the top margin, the bottom, the inside, or the outside. Again, this is something that changes if I have facing pages or not. When I do not have facing pages, then I get a top, bottom, left, and right. With facing pages, I get an inside and outside. Columns, I'm allowed to add my columns here, and I also can alter the gutter, and the gutter is basically the space that's between the columns. So just for a visual so you can see what will happen here, as I increase this to a 1/2 inch, that means there's a 1/2 inch between each of the columns. So the columns are where the text would go, and this is the white space in between those columns. At the bottom, you may or not see this. This is the bleed and slug information. The bleed is the content that extends typically about 1/8 of an inch beyond the trim size of the paper. So if I were to put in an 1/8 of an inch here, and I'm just going to put it in one and press tab because they're linked, you can see it's indicated with a red line or a red guide that tells me that if I have an image that I want the printer to trim because I want it to go all the way to the edge of the page, then I need to put that picture all the way to that red line. That's my guide, best practice type of a guide, so that when my printer trims it, there's enough room there, a little bit of margin for error. Slug is typically extended another 1/8 to 1/2 an inch beyond. So if I do a 0.25 here, you can see, I didn't have it linked. Let's link it. So you can see another guide, this time indicated in blue, that shows where I can put some printer information. You may want to actually go a larger distance here. I'm pressing tab to apply this. Typically you'd make actually a text box and you would put in information that you want your printer to see. Has nothing to do with what will be printed. It's not intended to be printed. It's intended to be a notes area. I have an option also at my document preset where I can save my document presets. So if I've taken the time to set this up and it's maybe something that I plan to use again, then I would want to save this. And if I save it, I'm allowed to type in a name. I'll just name this class example. Click OK. And so now that will be listed here under document presets. So that class example remembers everything that I have set right here, right now. Okay. One last thing, I'm going to travel back up here. I skipped over my start page number text box. This determines the page number of the first page. So it determines whether it's going to be on the left hand or the right hand. So my start page number, if it's odd, it's going to be right hand, and this all is determined also with facing pages. And if it's even, then I would have it starting on the right hand with this facing pages. So it's something to experiment with. Let's just start page on 2. And when we open it, you'll be able to see it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And just to see what's happening here, it starts on page 2 and now it's on the left side. Do you see that? We'll talk about pages in a moment, but it's on the left side. If I would have chose 1, it would have been on the right side. So that determines how your first page, and really the output of your book, how you will bind it, all those types of things are considerations for that. So that's how you set up a new document utilizing the new Document Dialog Box.